First, let us define quadratic equations. Quadratic equations are of this standard form: ax squared plus bx plus c equals 0. But a should not be equal to 0. It means in a quadratic equation, there is a term with a variable raised to second power. Example, 2x squared plus 9x minus 5 equals 0. In here, our example is in standard form. All the terms are on the left side and it is equal to 0. Then we can collect the a, b, and c. Take note that the a is the coefficient of x squared. So a equals 2. The b is the coefficient of the x. So in here the b equals 9. And the c is the constant. So c is equal to negative 5. Do not forget the sign of the constant. Let us see now the quadratic formula. The solutions to a quadratic equation of the form ax squared plus bx plus c equals 0, where a is not equal to 0, are given by the formula, and this is the quadratic formula. X equals, in the numerator, is negative b plus or minus the square root of the quantity b squared minus 4ac all over 2a. Here are the steps on how to solve quadratic equation using quadratic formula. Step 1. Write the quadratic equation in standard form. Identify the a, b, and c values. Step 2. Write the quadratic formula. Then substitute the values of a, b, and c. Step 3. Simplify. Let us have some examples. This is example 1. Solve 2x squared plus 9x minus 5 equals 0 by quadratic formula. In solving, it means we want to get the values of the x. Step 1. Write the quadratic equation in standard form. The equation is already in standard form because all the terms are on the left and it is equal to 0. Identify now the a, b, and c values. So we will collect the a, that is the coefficient of x squared, it is 2. We collect now the b, the coefficient of x, and that is 9. And the c is the constant, negative 5. Step 2. Write the quadratic formula. Then substitute the values of a, b, and c. Here now is our quadratic formula. And then we substitute the values of a, b, and c. It is now the negative of b, and that is 9, plus or minus the square root of, this is now 9 squared, minus 4. The a is now changed into 2. The c is now negative 5 all over 2 times a, and the a is now changed into 2. And step 3, we will simplify and get the values for x. So the negative of the positive 9 is now negative 9, plus or minus 9 squared is 81, the product of -4, 2, and -5 is +40 all over 2 times 2 is 4. Then we simplify the radicand. The 81 plus 40 is 121. We just copy the -9, the plus or minus sign, and the denominator 4. On the next step, we need to simplify this square root of 121, and that is 11. Now at this point, we're going to split the plus and minus. There will be two values for the x. The x sub 1 is equal to, we will use first the plus sign. So -9 plus 11 all over 4. For the x sub 2, the negative sign will be used. So -9 minus 11 all over 4. Then let us simplify both. -9 plus 11 equals +2 over 4. The -9 minus 11 equals -20 over 4. We can reduce to lowest term the 2 over 4. It is equal to 1/2. The -20 over 4 is equal to -5. So the two values of x are 1/2 and -5. Let's have example 2. Solve x squared minus 6x equals -5 by quadratic formula. Step 1. Let us write the equation in standard form. We can see here that the constant -5 is on the right. The standard form says the right side must be equal to 0. So we will transpose the -5 to the other side of the equation, and the sign must be changed. So the -5 becomes +5 on the left side, and it is equal now to 0. Then we will identify the a, b, and c. For our a, the coefficient of x squared is 1. The b, the coefficient of x is -6. And the c is the constant. Step 2, we go now to our quadratic formula. Then we will substitute the values of a, b, and c. So it's now negative of -6 plus or minus the square root of the square of -6 minus the constant 4 times a, which is now changed into 1, times c, which is now changed into 5, all over 2 times a, and a is 1. Step 3, let us simplify. The negative of -6 is +6, plus or minus the square root of the square of -6 is +36 minus the product of -4 times 1 times 5 is -20 all over 2. And then we will simplify the 36 minus 20. It is now 16. So our radical now is square root of 16. And then we can simplify the square root of 16 into 4. And from this point, we're going now to split the plus and minus sign to get the two values of x. X sub 1 equals 6 plus 4 all over 2, and x sub 2 equals 6 minus 4 all over 2. For the x sub 1, the 6 plus 4 is 10 over 2, which is equal to 5. For our x sub 2, the 6 minus 4 is 2 over 2, and that is equal to 1. And this is our final answer. Now let us consider example 3. Solve x squared equals 8x minus 16 by quadratic formula. Step 1. Let us write the quadratic equation in standard form. It means the 8x minus 16 we will transpose on the left side. If we do that, we should change the sign. Look at the 8x. It becomes negative 8x here, and the negative 16 on the right becomes positive 16, and it is now equal to 0. Then let us identify the a, b, and c values. A is the coefficient of x squared. It is equal to 1. B is the coefficient of x, and that is negative 8. And the c, the constant, positive 16. Then we will write the quadratic formula and substitute the values of a, b, and c. So this is now the negative of negative 8 plus or minus the big square root. The square of negative 8 is here, then minus 4 times a, which is now changed into 1, times c, which is now changed into 16, all over 2 times a, and is now changed into 1. Then step 3, we will simplify the formula. The negative of negative 8 is positive 8, plus or minus the square root of the square of negative 8 is positive 64. Then minus the product of 4 times 1 times 16 equals 64. All over the 2 times 1 is 2. You see here we have 64 minus 64, and that is equal to 0. So our radical now is square root of 0, and when we simplify the square root of 0, it's simply 0. At this point, we will now split our x into plus or minus. The x of 1 is 8 plus 0 all over 2. 8 plus 0 is 8 over 2 is equal to 4. X of 2 is the 8 minus 0 all over 2. Also it is 8 over 2, and that is equal to 4. You see here our values are the same. It's like the solution of the quadratic equation is simply a single number, and that is 4. This is our final answer. Take note, in a quadratic equation, since the highest power is 2, the number of possible solutions is at most 2. Example 4. Solve 2x squared plus 10x plus 11 equals 0 by quadratic formula. We have our formula in here. Now let us collect the values of a, b, and c. The a is the coefficient of x squared. So we write here a equals 2. The b is the coefficient of x, and this is positive 10. And the c is the constant 11. Then we substitute the values a, b, c in our equation. So we have x equals the negative of 10 plus or minus the big square root 10 squared minus 4ac, and that is 4 times 2 times 11 all over 2a, that is 2 times 2. We simplify further. This negative of 10 is simply negative 10 plus or minus the square root of 10 squared is 100 minus the product 4 times 2 times 11. That will be 88. All over 2 times 2 is 4. We simplify the values inside the radical symbol. 100 minus 88 is 12. Now we simplify the square root of 12. This is not a perfect square number, so we simply take the factors of 12, one of which must be a perfect square number. So we have the square root of 4 times 3. And we know the square root of 4 is 2. We can pull it out this radical sign. So we have now 2 square root of 3. In the numerator, there is a common factor, and that is 2. We can factor it out. So we have 2 times the quantity, negative 5, plus or minus the square root of 3, all over 4. We can cancel the 2 and the 4. So this 2 becomes 1, and this 4 becomes 2. We simplify further. X equals negative 5 plus or minus the square root of 3 all over 2. Now we're going to show the two values of x. The first value will use the positive. The second value will use the negative. So x sub 1 equals negative 5 plus square root of 3 all over 2. And x sub 2 equals negative 5 minus the square root of 3 all over 2. This is our answer. Example 5. Solve 3p squared plus 2p plus 9 equals 0 by quadratic formula. Our quadratic formula is here. Now let us collect the values of a, b, and c. The a is the coefficient of p squared, so we write a equals 3. B is the coefficient of this middle term, so this 2 is the value of b. And the c is the constant, so we write here c equals 9. We substitute the values a, b, c respectively in the equation. So we have x equals the negative of positive 2 plus or minus the big square root of 2 squared minus 4ac. So we write here 4 times 3 times 9 all over 2a. So we have 2 times 3. We simplify further. This negative of 2, we simply write minus 2 or negative 2 plus or minus the square root of 2 squared is 4 minus the product 4 times 3 times 9, and that will be 108 all over 2 times 3, that is 6. We simplify the values inside the radical sign. 4 minus 108, and that will be negative 104. When we simplify this square root, we say that we cannot take the square root of a negative number. So that means we will conclude that the given equation has no real solution.